Thank you. And I will start with you, Åsa. We've heard about all that is happening here in northern Sweden, and we've also heard about the TEN-T and the development at the European level. From your perspective, what would you say? Why is a well-functioning infrastructure so key, not only for the regions of northern Sweden, but also for the whole of Europe?
Well, I think for me at the local and regional level, infrastructure is about creating a foundation and good conditions so that investments, development of businesses and people can be who or what they want to be in our regions. Given all that is taking place in terms of the green transition and that the northern part of Sweden both can and will play an important part of this, the infrastructure is the foundation for further development of our regions. For us, it's not only about what we want from the EU, but what we can and are contributing with in terms of the green transition. Regarding the TEN-T, we are very positive to the broader definition of urban nodes in the EP draft report, a functional urban area, which better mirrors the labor markets in a sparse populated geography like we have in northern Sweden. And talking about functional urban nodes, I think it's also important to see that we have cross-border urban nodes in our regions, like between Umeå in Sweden and Vasa in Finland. And this is one example of really connecting Europe, I think. And of course, as we are still hoping and working towards a quick ending of the terrible Russian war on Ukraine, this also has put a spotlight on the transport and infrastructure from a military mobility perspective in our regions. Here we see the east-west connection as very important, and connecting the transport corridors is vital. And from the local and regional level, we would like to stress the need for dual use when talking about military mobility and infrastructure, because it's like we need this to work both in peace times and, of course, in troubling times as well. And to conclude, from a sparsely populated area with long distances like ours, all infrastructure and transports are, of course, important. And functional multimodality is the key here, I think. Between different types of transports, it's very necessary. They simply all need to work. And finally, do what you can with what you have where you are. This is a normal state of mind for those of us who live in the northern part of Sweden. But we also recognize that you can do more if you do it together in cooperation, just like we're doing here today. So I'll stop there for a minute. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Åsa. And I will then ask you, Erik, you've been working with these questions for long now, from a regional development perspective for many years, and now you're in the European Parliament. What would you say are the possibilities from your perspective with the TEN-T?
Well, I would say we have even a greater focus on TEN-T and the necessity to connect all of Europe with the transport corridors, but also I would say a greater awareness that these transport corridors will only be functional if you have the so-called the feeders, so that they reach out into the geography. And I would say all the things, some really terrible things that are happening in Europe, the aggression, the pandemic that hopefully is over now, the economic crisis has made aware that we have to cooperate even more. And this, of course, makes it really, really important that we have the physical infrastructure to meet in 3D. We've all learned, I think, done our share in front of a screen, and that has created new possibilities. But it's so boring to have screen meetings, so we really need to meet as well, and then we need the infrastructure.
So connectivity is key.
Yeah.
I will ask you, Mr. Liégeois, what can be done to strengthen the current infrastructure policy so we can really have these cross-border collaborations and a stronger Europe?
Yeah. But I will perhaps now use the question to, I would say, put a little bit more focus on Sweden and I would say the northern of Europe. When I have a question, first I look at the map of Europe and normally I find the solution, the reply to the question. When looking at the northern of Europe, I see 2 points. The first point is the one that I already mentioned, to connect I would say, the whole territory of Sweden. That's the objective of cohesion. That's the first point. The second point, I see also a problem which is Finland, which is connected to railway, to the Russian railway system, not to the European railway system. So something that we, with the war in Ukraine and let's say the new geopolitics, that we should definitely change. So I would say based on that, I see two main, let's say, avenue for the future development of infrastructure in the northern part of Europe. First of all, as I said, connect Finland, the railway system of Finland, with the rest of Europe, so through Sweden. So that's certainly one very important objective. So basically, to be very concrete, connect with railway Helsinki to the north of Finland, and they're connecting with the European gauge system of Sweden. And I would say it's a challenge, but it will also be an opportunity for improving the railway system of Sweden. The second, I would say, objective that I see is probably the relocation of certain industry centers also in Finland from the Gulf of Finland into the Botnian Gulf. So I see also a bright future, I would say, for the economic development of Botnian Gulf and for, I would say, interconnection between the different parts. So I would say that, and it also replies to the question of how to green transport, because what I just mentioned is, I would say, promotion of railway system at European level, in particular between Sweden and Finland, and promotion of short sea shipping within the Botnian Gulf, also between Finland and Sweden.
And so the European level is really an enabler in this. And I think, Erik, you have, as we said, you work both regionally and now in the EU. What would you say now compared to 10 years ago? Is the European more relevant today than what it was 10 years ago? And how can we be better at connecting to the European level in the work that we do here in the regions?
Well, I would say just since 2019, when I was new in the parliament, well, the world always changes, but it's really dramatic what has happened. And I mentioned some of the things. I would say the climate crisis is now urgent, and we are doing our best to solve that. We just had a pandemic. How to avoid that? How to cooperate better when it happens again? And we had economic crisis that created new economic models within the EU, and we have this crisis that has now led to that Finland and Sweden will soon be members of the NATO. And all this has created, I would say, an urge, and this is happening in the European Parliament, and it's happening in a lot of member states, that Europe has to cooperate even more in a world that is more uncertain and need a strong democratic region as EU more than ever. Sweden, I will not speak for other countries, even if I can observe the same there. Sweden is not really realizing what is happening. So I would say, if we want to be part of this, if we want to influence this, and also, I would say, make it better, because we have good ideas, but if we want to influence this, we have to increase our resources on every level: national level, regional level, local level, companies, NGOs. We have to be more active and participate in what is happening in the European Union, because cooperation will be stronger. And if we want it to be as good as possible, then we have to be a part. If not, then so be it. But then we have made a choice. But we have to make that choice now.
So stronger multi-level collaborations is what I hear here.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much. This fantastic panel of mine, Mr. Liégeois, Åsa, Erik. Warm applause, round of applause. Thank you.